On this week's episode, it's Xbox turn for a showcase. Star Trek takes center stage at Comic-Con, and the ever-shifting strategies for movies. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, The Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please send us out that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Or, speaking of stars, whenever we're doing some Facebook streaming or anything game-related, whether it's the Dungeons & Dragons or whether it's right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos, please, if you can, if you're interested, and if you want, send us out those stars that you can go ahead and truly send out for all those like Facebook, game streamers like us and all that. So if you send us any stars or you like, follow, share, whatever you can do to help support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, it is truly appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. It's our own Mega Cat, who's kind of excited, but he's also from Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Also check out what he's doing with his great podcast, Topicocalypse, and the Super BS Gamescast. Plus his book, Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. So, like the sign says, looks like you're kind of excited. What's up, man?
Sorry. Hey, not much, man. I'm kind of excited, kind of not. We'll talk about some things here in a minute, but just happy to be here, as always.
I am happy to be here as well, and we truly appreciate everyone listening and watching us on Facebook Live, YouTube. If you're listening to us on any of the radio stations that are around the world, want to give a big heads up to one of our newest stations, Ambron Radio, also as well, Raw Talk Online. Giving them some love. Thank you so much for supporting us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Cannot thank you enough for doing so. Plus also everyone that listens to us around the world. Thank you so much on radio and also on all of our podcast outlets. We cannot thank you enough for supporting us. We've got a lot to talk about as well. Just wanted to go ahead and run down what we're going to be doing up here on this episode of the PCC Multiverse. Got the Xbox Series X showcase that just came out. And we'll go ahead and elaborate whether we liked it or whether we didn't like it or what needed to go ahead and see more of or what we gotta. What do we like? What do we just really enjoy about it? We're going to go ahead and go into detail on that here in a sec. Plus also as well, Star Trek made an impression at Comic-Con with an announcement of a new series of a different kind. We'll go ahead and talk about the Star Trek series real quick. And if it's going in the direction that we would like it to go in as far as it continues on its TV trek to a galaxy unknown. Plus also as well, we're going to really quickly mention what's going on in the world of movies and release dates with Bill and Ted 3 and Tenet. And James Deegan from Mega Cat Studios, I got him over on the back half hour coming on talking about all the great stuff that he's doing at Mega Cat Studios and all the games that he's got coming out or that have just been released to either the modern consoles or the retro consoles like the Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, and the Mega Drive as well. But my friend, it's a console of a different kind that was showcased earlier today as we're recording this, and that was the Xbox Series X was on full display as far as the power, and we could see all the nice shiny games that are coming out very soon in the not too distant future. Well, at least we hope so. But some I know are already not going to be there at the time of launch. But it is the Xbox Series X showcase. Some of the games that were announced and shown off was games like a new Forza. Shock upon all shocks, a new Forza is coming out. What do you know? New Fable game, which I know a lot of people are excited about. As Dusk Falls, a nice interactive, sort of really different looking, cel-shaded, cartoonish, but with a serious, dramatic side to it. That one really looks very interesting. State of Decay 3, Obviously, it's been a very big hit for Xbox so far. So they're coming out with State of Decay 3, Crossfire X, which I believe is a port. That is coming over as well with a Xbox Series X upgrade and boost. The Medium, Everwild, Grounded, all great games. They look very nice, look very interesting. And Halo Infinite had a ton of minutes out there, actually a few minutes out there that they showed off and showcased as far as new gameplay is concerned. I personally liked the best Avowed, which has a very Oblivion-esque type look and feel. Plus, I also love the really just intense visionary type graphics on it as well. I'm gonna be honest with you, my friend. Everything looked nice and shiny. Everything looked nice and glossy. Looked a little bit better than what the PlayStation 5 had to offer as far as the shiny games. Maybe the textures were popping a little bit better just for me on the Xbox Series X games than the PlayStation 5 games that were shown off. But the lack of games that were shown off, period, kind of has me disappointed overall.
Yeah, honestly, man, it's been such a weird year for video games. We allegedly we still have Cyberpunk and Assassin's Creed coming out here, but like, PlayStation had a similar, I'm similarly disappointed with Xbox as I am with PlayStation, but still I'm a little excited about it. And also like Nintendo, right? What's going on? Nintendo did their little mini direct, and like their big game was what the Tensai Shin, I forget what the name of the game is called, but it's just that there's not really, I'm curious if a lot of these companies are keeping things close to their chest because of the COVID thing. Like they don't know when these games are going to be able to come out. But it was cool to see Halo Infinite. It was cool to see the announcement of a new Fable and Forza. But yeah, a lot of these games they showed were kind of like, they made you wonder, is this the biggest thing that they have coming out? Because I don't know if you noticed this, but a lot of the games that Xbox showed, they have it doesn't really look like they're utilizing the capabilities of the new console they keep bragging about. They're very like cartoony and animated, and they're not really highlighting, like it looks like something that could be played on the Xbox One.
Again, they looked nice looking games. They were very nice looking games, but it was just the fact that there weren't enough. Plus, like I said, it's just seemingly that they're a step behind what PlayStation has to offer. When PlayStation debuted over 30 games, and they were right around the single digits to double digits, hovering around 10. That's not a good ratio, my friend. Obviously, some of these PlayStation games on PlayStation 5 that'll be coming to it will be going on both systems, and that's understandable. But it just seemed to me that the PlayStation press conference was a little bit better prepared than what Xbox had to offer. And I think at this point in time, I can clearly say that PlayStation won this first round as far as, first initial impressions are concerned.
I mean, it's possible. Not with me, though, because I think Xbox did a better job in like actually saying, hey, this is a console launch title. Like this is something we have a sort of window, whereas PlayStation didn't give us any windows, no release dates. They showed a lot of games on the PlayStation, but they didn't show us anything that we're going to be playing soon. And I think that's where Microsoft did a better job than PlayStation did, though not a lot better than what PlayStation did. But, it's... I don't know. I've been reading a lot of headlines already with like there's Kotaku and Polygon. They're all attacking Xbox and for like little things how they didn't address like backwards compatibility. Then they're saying, oh, that's not going to have Xbox One support anymore. They didn't talk about that. They didn't say they weren't going to have it. It's just I don't know. It's kind of petty the way a lot of these journalists kind of jump to conclusions, but. I can get why people would like the PlayStation conference better. I also get why people would like the Xbox One better. I like the Xbox One better, but that's just because I have more love for some of the games that they showed at the Xbox conference as opposed to the Sony conference. For example, really love the Halo Infinite footage. Love the Master Chief's grappling hook. Like that was rad. And it's just that I was disappointed they didn't show another trailer for Hellblade, and there's some other things like I don't know why they would show Warhammer. Like that's kind of a game that there's not a lot of like Xbox, fandom for that one. Avowed looks cool and is, from what I understand, it's part of the Pillars of Eternity franchise. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like State of Decay 3, I'm not like super stoked on. I don't know. Do you want to talk about some of these games they showed?
Well, again, I want to go back to Avowed because that was the one that was, I'm like, that looks like a successor to Oblivion I could really get into. And because I've said before, Skyrim, I played 30 hours and I got stuck in a bug and I couldn't get back. I still have it on the shelf right here. I'm just not going, I haven't gone back to it. I may go back to it, but it didn't hook me like Oblivion did. And this reminded me so much more about what Oblivion had to offer, the deep content. So if I get an Xbox Series X, it's for that game. Whether, new Forza, new Forza always comes out with a new system, man. I mean, they're the type of games that can actually just showcase a new system and how good the graphics are and the res, the colors, the shading, all the 9 yards. Those racing games do it the best. So, of course, a new Forza was coming out. A new Fable was very interesting. So, and something that was rumored to be worked on and to be working on. So, I want to hear your thoughts on a new Fable on the way. Could it be something that we could really get back into as a series, or is it just too many years gone by?
No, I mean, I think that it is something everyone will get back into. I think even new players will get into, because that's the great thing about Fable is that it's much like the Final Fantasy games. It's all a standalone game. There's nothing that feeds into the next game. Granted, in like Fable 2 and 3, they reference like the heroes of old, and they're talking about your character, and obviously like what you did in that game. They talk about that a little bit, but it's not. They're like, these games are like hundreds of years apart from each other. So, yeah, no, I definitely think, especially if it's just being called Fable, much like God of War, like it feels like it's going to be a new beginning. What worries me about the Fable trailer, though, is that there was no gameplay, and if there's no gameplay, it leads me to believe it's going to be 2022 at the earliest before we get our hands on this game.
Yep.
And it feels much like the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer they showed at E3 last year, where they're like, we're not like actively working on this, we're kind of working on it. Here's a little video of some sky and stuff, and you can kind of make your own assumptions on it. That's what
just like this one was, just that cute animation of the fairy getting eaten up by the frog, and that was it.
Yeah, it was a funny trailer, but yeah, I don't have any hope for seeing it soon. I do want to go back to Avowed. Like Avowed does, I'm realizing with Ghost of Tsushima as I'm playing through it, is that I like it, but I find myself more pulled into games that have fantasy elements to them. Like Ghost of Tsushima is cool, but it's all like historical. There's no magic or anything like that in the game, and I'm having a hard time like wanting to sit down for hours at a time and playing this game. Whereas a game like Elder Scrolls or Final Fantasy, or even like looking at Avowed, like stuff like that, that has like fantasy and magic and stuff like that, it's more appealing to me. And so yes, I am excited about Avowed, and it kind of seems like a good place if you are a fan of Pillars of Eternity. Even if you're not, like, this feels like a good jumping on point for that, because my hope is going to be that it's not like a top-down game, it's a first-person
Avowed looked like it's a first-person shooter. It looked Oblivion. I mean, that's why I'm interested in it. But that's an Xbox exclusive among the others that were announced. There were like 5 Xbox exclusive, not counting Halo Infinite, that were introduced. As Dust Falls looks like it's going to be a very gripping type of story. I'd like to see that, how that plays out. State of Decay 3, like you said, is just more State of Decay on maybe a shinier, fancier version, maybe a little bit larger platform. I know everybody is talking about the graphics for Halo Infinite not being mind-bendingly wow. It's just, they looked good, but it didn't look, just tremendous. It looked kind of shiny. The colors popped, but to me, it just looked more like, more than something I've seen before when it comes to the Halo universe. The gameplay looked pretty good. You mentioned the grappling hook and all that. I think it's something that a lot of people hopefully will enjoy. I know a lot of people are talking about the open world aspects of the new Halo Infinite universe that hopefully will be upcoming with the game. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of it and maybe exploring it from there.
Yeah, okay. So here's my thoughts on the Halo trailer. Like it looks a lot better. It looks a lot better than Halo 5. And then that's sorry, and that's just aesthetically. It looks like it's a lot easier to look at, you know, and I like the idea of us being outside, being on the ring again. Like that is exciting to me. I don't know how I feel about using the Banished because they were the villains in Halo Wars 2, and a lot of people don't play, you know, the Halo Wars games. At least not as many who plays like the mainline Halo series. So I don't know if it's a good idea using them as bad guys. But what confuses me is that they have, you know, Atriox. I forget what his name is. He's sitting there talking about how he's teaming up with I guess Cortana or whatever it is. Like I don't understand. I don't understand the story, you know, and that's like what's confusing because it shows like it's been what 25 years since humans fell or something like that, and they kept talking about like the death of the UNSC, like what happened in that time. If they don't address that, then it's going to just be another Halo narrative nightmare like Halo 5 was.
Can
And
I
you know,
ask
as
you a
for the
question? Well, let me ask you
yeah,
a question.
please.
He was speaking English. Was that the case? Was he supposed to have like a translator or something? I remember that in the other games previously they were supposed to have translation.
Yeah, I mean, some of the brutes spoke English, some didn't. You know, it's the same thing with the grunts, right? Like they had their own language, but then they kind of some of them spoke in it. Some of them you can hear them like grenade and stuff like that. So it's I don't really I mean, as far as like continuity goes with that kind of stuff, I have to go back and play the other games just to get my roots down again. But
And then you talked about Cortana. Cortana was delving into a period where she was going into madness and sacrificed herself
yeah.
in Halo 5 Guardians. So
Yeah, so what's going on with that? You know, they haven't really addressed it. There has we Cortana. There's been no presence. Cortana has had no presence in any of the trailers, any of the artwork.
do you smell that? I smell prequel book coming.
I saw there is a prequel book coming, but I mean, if they don't, it's kind of like how they address the death of what's his name, the Forerunner, the main Forerunner you were fighting in the other games. They address his death in a book instead of the actual game. Like there's so much in continuity here, and it drives me crazy
Plus the
that
advent of
you
the addition of another Halo. Is this another Halo? Is this the
the
original
addition
Halo?
of another Halo. So I'm hopeful that they will go back and they will explain all this stuff. You know, like the Forerunners. I really like the idea of being able to fight the Forerunners, seeing the Forerunners. Like they're like, hey, we have this idea, we're gonna show you this, and then it's just gone. You know, and that's one of the things that has really agitated me. So I hope that with Halo Infinite, it's kind of a new start. Uh, don't mess this up. You know, just don't mess it up. Don't make us assume. Just tell us what's there. I don't know. I don't want to read the book. Just tell me what happened. And yeah, man, I don't know.
I mean, you
But
said
I
there were
do
other.
like the
Oh, go ahead.
oh, I do like the open world aspect. I like being able to go to different places. You're not just stuck on one linear path. I would hope that there is you know, there is something some remnant that ties Halo Infinite together with Halo 4, but you know, we'll see what happens, man. I am excited about it. I do want to play it. It does look good. But you know, I said the same thing about Halo 5 and was incredibly disappointed by it.
Well, here we go again. Here we go again. But it is Halo Infinite. About 10 minutes of the game was shown off. I'm actually showing right now as on to viewers out there of Facebook Live. They're going to go ahead and seeing the YouTube video of the official Xbox game showcase. You're seeing some of the highlights right here. Let me go ahead and see if I'm give you some of the action. There's Halo Infinite right there for you. So before we go ahead and close out our conversation on this Xbox Series X with our final thoughts on it, at least the initial impressions per se, I know there were some other games like the Medium and some other games that you wanted to go ahead and talk about real briefly before we head on out.
Yeah, so Rare's new game, Everwild, actually looks pretty cool. You know, they didn't show us any really much gameplay or what the game's going to look like. They kind of showed more story trailer, but it does look good. I've always kind of liked the Rare animation style, and this, you know, it kind of does have the same color palettes as Sea of Thieves. I am, you know, I'm curious. I want to know more about the game, but it does look kind of interesting. And the other one I am interested in is the Medium. I know that this game was shown before, and they didn't really like go into detail about a lot of the mechanics, but I do love the you know, being able to switch, playing the dual view of your world versus you know, the nightmare world versus the real world. Like it looks truly terrifying, and I am incredibly interested in this game. Then again, though, you know, these horror survival games are really just hit and miss. Like there's no, pardon the pun, there's no medium between them. So hopefully it's good. You know, we'll see.
We will see, indeed. But overall, your thoughts on the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series X showcase, and you're saying you enjoyed it. You say you give it a little bit a slight edge over the PlayStation, and just really just right now, if you're going to go ahead and decide between the two, I have a feeling as the Xbox fanboy of us, you're going to go ahead and choose the Xbox side.
I mean, yes, because it has a game I want to play at launch. You know, if PlayStation had something I want to play at launch, I might pick that one. But we don't know anything about what the launch titles are. It was good. It was okay. It was disappointing in its own rights. You know, I wanted to see Hellblade. They didn't make any announcements about Gears Tactics on console. There was no Gears of War period. You know, I do like how they are going to be upgrading for free a lot of the older games, you know, Gears 4 and stuff like that. So I think that they are one up in that category. But I think PlayStation they weren't being vague about it. They just didn't address a lot of this stuff. So it's possible that they could be doing the same thing. I don't know. But as of right now, I am just like maybe a couple meters above PlayStation when it comes to Xbox.
And for you, were you also disappointed that you didn't get really any definitive thing as far as release information is concerned?
Okay, yes, that was my next thing. Is like, why? Remember when the Xbox One came out? We knew when it was coming out in April, and I think PlayStation had done a month before that or a month after that. I know they were a month apart, but with this, like, PlayStation has not announced a release date. Xbox has not announced a release date. They keep saying holiday, but I mean, when? You know, when are these pre-orders going to go live? Do they even know how many consoles are going to have available? Like, there's so many unanswered questions here, and it is concerning. Yeah, I mean, like, I would like information, and they're purposely not giving it, and I don't understand what the strategy is behind that.
And then you also have the fact that there's still no price listed. That's kind of a bummer as well.
No price. Yeah, no price at all. You know, and I know PlayStation said they're doubling their production. We haven't even heard anything about what's going on with the Xbox's production. So I don't know. I don't know anything about this, man. It's crazy.
With me, I'm going to give right now the edge to PlayStation. I thought the fact that they had a sheer substantially higher number of quality games that they showcased that I was interested in over the minimal amount of games that were shown off by Xbox. And I'm saying that when you got 10 to 30, roughly 10-ish to roughly 30-ish games that were showcased, that's kind of disappointing. You know, you need to see more, and that's great that a lot of these games are going to get the Xbox Series X free rub and get those free upgrades to the next level. But I need to see more from Xbox as someone who is not a PlayStation fanboy and someone who is not an Xbox fanboy who has had both systems. And I would love to personally see a definitive winner. But right now, for me, I'm leaning a little bit PlayStation, but Xbox is still not out of the realm yet because they're, you know, what they did offer looks pretty good. Looks a little better, looks a little sharper, looks a little bit of fancier, looks a little bit more color generated. Things popped a little bit better than they did on the PlayStation 5 as far as what was shown off. But the sheer amount of games and the selection has PlayStation 5 a little bit ahead for me. So that's what I think, and that's what you think of what's going on right now in this next generation console future war that hopefully will be happening this holiday. We don't know exactly when, we don't know exactly the price, because that's the next step for each as far as the dates on when both are being available to consumers, and also what price, and that I think is going to be a big key, is the when and the how much of what's going on for the next generation will play a key factor going forward. What are your thoughts out there on the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series X showcase? We'd love to hear your thoughts. We just want to know exactly what games of this Xbox Series X showcase were you really interested in? How is Halo Infinite meeting up or not meeting up to your expectations? Are you excited about a new Forza on the way, a new Fable coming out one day? Hopefully in the near future. We don't quite know. As Dust Falls, State of Decay 3, the whole list of games that were there. Did you think it was better than PlayStation 5's presentation, or are you leaning towards PlayStation at this point in time? We just want to hear your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com, plus also as well Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And yes, Pop Culture Cosmos is on TikTok too, so you can TikTok us all day long at Pop Culture Cosmos. My friend, before we hit the half hour, just wanted to go ahead and just break down some stuff that went on at Comic-Con so far. On our Monday show, we're going to have an even larger breakdown of what happened at Comic-Con. But right now, I wanted to go ahead and touch on Star Trek real quick. I mean, because they were there as far as their panel at Comic-Con, talking about a lot of great things coming up, of course, with their current shows. But by the end of next year, my friend, they're going to have not one, not two, not three, but 5 shows that they're going to be producing with the Star Trek name, because Star Trek Prodigy for Nickelodeon, which is going to be a kid's show, an animated show geared for children, heading to Nickelodeon, I believe, next year. So I want to hear your thoughts. Again, it's going to be Discovery, Picard, Star Trek Lower Decks, the show that's coming out that's based off of characters that were in Discovery, like Spock, and just 2 or 3 others that we're familiar with from the Star Trek universe, and also as well Star Trek Prodigy that's coming to Nickelodeon. I want to hear your thoughts on that, my friend. The Star Trek universe, is it being stretched too thin as far as television, and why isn't there a movie being talked about as well?
As for the movie, I think the Chris Pine films are still kind of fresh on people's minds. As for the other ones, I can't really speak about Star Trek. I'm not a fan. Like I'll watch them, but I'm not like stoked on them like you are. What it sounds like to me, though, is it sounds like they are kind of overdoing it a little bit. And having there's how much Star Trek is too much Star Trek. I think the success of Picard is actually creating, making them see like, let's throw 10 eggs into one basket. It's like when Game of Thrones was popular, right? And HBO was like, we have 6 spin-off series in development right now. Like it just, how much is too much, And like as far as like a kid's version of Star Trek, I think that could be a good idea. But I mean, I don't know if we need all of these Star Trek shows. Are you, as the Pop Culture Cosmos resident Star Trek fan, are you excited about this?
Well, the Star Trek Prodigy is not meant for you and I. That's meant to go ahead and be for an animated show for children. I'm hoping they will use it as an educational tool for expansion of the stars, getting people into astronomy, talking about those issues. And if that's the case as an educational tool for kids, by all means. I hope it's a big hit for Nickelodeon. But Nickelodeon, when it gets behind a kid show, it will get behind a kid show. But if it doesn't, like shows like Yo Gabba Gabba, when the Wiggles were there, I really didn't see the kind of love that I thought I would see from them on that. But yeah, when they really get behind a show, they will really get behind a show. And I'm hoping that that's going to be the case for Star Trek Discovery. As for the show that's going to feature Spock, Pike, Captain Pike, and number 1, I'm kind of interested in it, kind of not. I just think that they were very good characters within the confines of Star Trek Discovery. I think they were did very well in their roles there. And I think that CBS and Viacom and Paramount, they saw, wow, okay, they really did well. So we're going to go ahead and give them their own series. I don't think it was planned, but my gosh, it's planned now. With Picard, that came out, and I think, like a lot of other people, I think that it's break even. It's best for me as far as results. I think Picard himself, Patrick Stewart, I don't know. He's 80. Do you really want to go ahead and have another season of Patrick Stewart at 80, 81, going ahead and trying to lead another, actually, they had him there as the lead, but then again, they tried to send around all the other characters to take a lot of pressure off him. So I don't know if I want another season of that, because I really didn't really get enthused about a lot of the other characters. And the ones I did like, some of them they killed off, like Hugh and whatnot. So I think that leaves Star Trek Discovery, the main brand, the main show that they were centering all this around. And Star Trek Discovery, I've really enjoyed. I don't know if there's going to be enough oomph still left in Star Trek Discovery. I know that they're heading to another time frame, another part of this universe, because they did a time warp as far as the last episode that they had in their last season. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to give that another chance, because I think that's been a good show so far. But yeah, I don't know. They're stretching themselves thin. I think they need to reutilize some of those resources towards a movie, but it just shows me right now that they have zero confidence in a movie, but they have all the confidence in the world in their TV shows, and they're going to go ahead and try and run with it as best they can.
Yeah, well, honestly, as far as the movie's concerned, at this point in time, it makes sense. It makes sense with the uncertainty of movie theaters, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute. But it makes sense to like put your eggs in the streaming basket instead of the feature film basket. And I'm maybe when COVID clears up, we will see a Star Trek movie. But right now, like it seems like streaming is the safer bet as opposed to a theatrical release.
Well, I definitely want to go ahead and check out a lot of the Star Trek universe that's coming on the way for television viewers in the not too distant future. Can't say galaxy far, far away, because that's another star of a different kind. But yeah, Star Trek is going to be something that we're going to see if it works. All these shows work next year. I mean, fans next year of Star Trek, they're going to get their fill of Star Trek. And it's going to be something that I think a lot of people will be very interested in. For how long, we'll wait and see. Again, there's also the fact that it's on CBS All Access, which is falling behind in the race for the streaming wars. Much of this, even though there's the kid show on Nickelodeon. So we'll see how much longer that the Star Trek shows can hold up the entire CBS All Access platform. And we'll see if they're going to go ahead on their other platforms, maybe on other platforms, in order to showcase just how good these Star Trek shows really are. What are your thoughts about Star Trek at Comic-Con? We'd love to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. And remember, on Monday's show, we will be breaking down a lot more of Comic-Con, a lot of the trailers. And in fact, there's some coming out as we're speaking. We're going to talk more about coming up on Monday's show, the Pop Culture Cosmos. Coming up next, we've got James Deegan from Mega Cat Studios talking about his great retro games that he's got available now and on the way for you as consumers and gamers out there, going back a little bit of retro right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is PCC Multiverse. Josh, I want to go ahead and ask you, I think you had just broken this while we're on the air, that Disney has just pushed their entire calendar of films back a year. Can you go ahead and explain? Because I'm trying to look up the story now. I've been blabbing so much, I haven't had a chance to look up the story.
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull it back up here. Okay, so this Disney delayed Mulan indefinitely. Star Wars and Avatar movies have been pushed back a year. So Mulan is no longer being released on August 21st. Is now unset on the Disney calendar. All the dated Star Wars films and Avatar sequels have been pushed back one whole year on the calendar. And the company is saying that theater closures and production shutdowns during the global coronavirus pandemic caused it to make a number of adjustments to its slate. And this comes from CNBC about 20 minutes ago.
Okay, because I'm looking at it now on the Hollywood Reporter. check that out again. CNBC, Hollywood Reporter have the story right now that Disney is making some major changes. But yes, that's the Star Wars and Avatar films are being pushed back a year. Mulan is also being pushed back. It actually unscheduled it, similar to what Tenet's been doing. We're going to talk about Tenet here in a sec. But yes, my friend, this just goes to show you about all the different kinds of changes these studios are making when it comes to all the different kinds of movies that are out there. I mean, unscheduling Mulan. We don't know the status of what's going on with Black Widow, other than it's still, as of this point in time, is going to be appearing in theaters in November. But even that's up for debate. So it's really a question. And before we go ahead and talk about Tenet and Bill and Ted 3, I mean, does this surprise you, or is this something that we're going to be seeing more of from Disney and major studios going forward?
Oh, it'll be something we see a lot more of. You know, we talked about this a while back, is the fact that we don't know when this is all going to stop. You know, we don't know when COVID is going to not be a thing anymore. And like wherever you stand on the background issues of COVID, it is affecting the economy. And it's like, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, we had, you know, the chart of COVID cases went down, people started making plans, and then it went back up. So who's to say that we're not going to have more peaks and valleys like that? So nothing is set in stone. You can't set anything in stone with movie releases. And so that brings me to the next, you know, my next question or thought here is that how long can these companies delay putting these movies out before they start to lose money on them?
Well, it's just very sad to see that that's the case. But for a lot of these studios, it's the right financial move, my friend. It's just what you're going to have to do. I mean, people just say, just throw it on VOD. Again, it comes to the point where you cannot throw a lot of these films on VOD because of the sheer amount of dollars that will be lost if you do. So if you're expecting a big return on some of these movies, you're not going to make it up. I mean, you'll make a fraction of it back by sending it to VOD, but that's the problem. You'll be making only a fraction of it. So you're gambling on hopefully some type of immunity coming as far as the coronavirus is concerned in the next 12 months that will hopefully necessitate everybody going back out again and theaters reopening up and things of that nature. So I think that's what Disney and other major studios are counting on, and that's why they're delaying or unscheduling, as I guess now it's called, unscheduling a lot of these movies to a undefined point in time, because they really feel that these big budget showcases shouldn't just go direct on VOD, because of the fact that they still feel that they can earn quite a bit of money whenever North American theaters open up.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what's going on in other countries right now, like if they're planning on opening theaters, if these movies are going to be able to play. I saw Tenet is going to be opening across seas.
That's correct. I was going to touch on that in a sec.
The US. Yeah, but it makes me wonder, like, if you push these movies back, say, a year, and then you end up having to push it back another year, and hopefully, you know, it wouldn't be that long. But, you know, the point being is that how long until like this movie cost $300 million to make? It's going to be 2 years now until you recoup those losses. So I'm trying to understand the economics of it, but it feels like at some point you're going to have to put this movie out, whether it's in theaters or on demand. It feels like there's a chance that you will start losing money on it, because even when theaters open, there's no guarantee that people are going to go to them, you know. So again, it could be 2 years, could be 3 years. We don't know when people are, after theaters open, when are people going to feel comfortable enough to go back to the movie theaters?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll wait and see what's going on with that. But again, it's going to be this continual musical chairs until for the movie studios with their major releases. We could see some movies being just transferred to VOD. Wanted to talk real quick about Tenet. Like you said, in the US, it has been unscheduled, just taken off the schedule entirely, but it will still be released in the not too distant future around the seas based on the individual countries' stature on where it is for coronavirus and if they have open theaters or not. But Tenet is now officially off the schedule here in the U.S. Bill and Ted 3, that is going to be released in whatever limited theaters here in the U.S. and around the world, but also is going to go at the same time concurrently to VOD. So they're going to go ahead and say, you know what, we're going all in on Bill and Ted 3. We're not going to push it back any, well, I guess not too much further. And we're just going to go ahead and have essentially what's going to be a straight to VOD type of release. There is theatrical release, but it's not going to do too much in theaters, at least in the U.S., that's for sure. But I want to hear your thoughts. Is this going to be the right move for Bill and Ted 3? Because I thought this could make a sneaky amount of money had it been a different type of climate. I think it could have made a pretty, nice. It would have been a surprise hit, I think, because there's a lot of love going out for this film.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it could still make a decent amount of money going out this way, but again, this is going to be an interesting, like, this is the experiment that probably all these other movie studios are going to be watching, right? Because it's not a Trolls, it's not Scoob. Like, this is a high profile. This film has a high profile actor in it, and it is something that has a lot of hype right now. So this is going to be an interesting experiment to see how this plays out. And I guarantee you that all these other studios, Disney, Warner Brothers, whatever it might be, they are going to be watching this to see what happens.
But again, it goes back to the point that whatever, it's going to do big numbers on VOD because Keanu Reeves is in the middle of the Keanu-sance. And the fact is that a lot of people from our days love Bill and Ted and are going to watch it because of that. But a lot of younger individuals and millennials and et cetera, are going to watch it that didn't watch the Bill and Ted's just because the Keanu-sance. But VOD, whatever numbers it does on VOD, and I have a feeling it's going to beat whatever Scoob or Trolls World Tour did. I have a feeling it will beat both of those movies. But even if that's the case, it's still going to be, again, a fraction of what I think it would have done had it been given a normal or under normal circumstances, a theatrical release. So I think there's going to be some biting of the bullet there just because of the fact you can never recoup all the money that you're going to lose because you didn't have a full theatrical release.
Yeah, but we're also going to have to redefine what normal is when theaters open back up because, again, we don't know if people are going to be willing to risk going to the theaters, what that landscape is going to look like. So I think it's going to be a long time until movies and the act of going to the movies looks anything like it did, last year.
I agree with you, my friend. It's going to be a very different, changing climate, and it's changing all the time with Disney announcing pushing back the Star Wars and Avatar films and unscheduling Mulan. And if you've got a film that you're really looking forward to out there, you might want to keep up to date with us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos on social media, because if you don't, you might not be getting it when you think you're going to be getting it, and you might not be getting it until a much later date. Or might be going straight to video on demand. Who knows? Right now, the climate is so uncertain. But keep up to date with us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, and we'll go ahead and just let you know what's going on in the world of movies. What are your thoughts out there on all the changing scheduled dates, the way that these movies are being released, the movies that are going to VOD, the movies that are not being released in the U.S., the movies that are being unscheduled? We want to hear about the continual musical chairs that the movie industry is doing with its high-profile releases. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also, we're on TikTok, Pop Culture Cosmos as well. Well, my friend, before we head on out, I want to give a big shout-out to Kelly Lanigan and to the other hundreds of viewers we've had on today's show. We cannot thank you enough for stopping by and checking us out. Remember, we've got a great show coming up on Monday, the Pop Culture Cosmos. We're going to be talking about Comic-Con and what's being introduced. I know Marvel's not being there in force. I know DC's not there in force, but there's still a lot being talked about and being shown off. All the trailers and whatnot are being showcased even right now as we speak. So we're going to talk about all that on Monday's show, the Pop Culture Cosmos. Looking forward to it. Plus, also, if you get a chance, check out, and you're a big sports fan, with the NBA coming back around the corner and the scrimmages taking place, go ahead and check out the Lakers Fast Break. This month alone, I put out over 15 episodes. So you want to go ahead and check that out. It's the Lakers Fast Break. But my friend, it's been a great episode. I know you got the Super BS Gamescast. You got to check that out as well. But any last thoughts on the way out?
Yeah, we still need to have that Westworld conversation. I finished the season last night, and I don't care to watch any more of it. So I need to get your thoughts on this at a later date.
I will give that to you. I have been checking out a little bit. It is an up and down adventure, as all the seasons have been. And like you said, is there more downs than ups? I'll share my thoughts with you whenever you're ready, my friend, right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Also want to give a big thank you to James Deegan from MegaCat Studios. Check out what they're doing today at megacatstudios.com. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day of paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great